Hello, this is the movie Fringe. The father sends his disobedient son to a special boarding school, the AK Torture Center, where he is taught to control aggression. The film, based on a true story, begins with the main character, teenager Fran, video chatting with his best friend and girlfriend. He drinks beer and smokes in front of the computer. Suddenly, his father, Luis, enters the room. He gets up early, and loud noise prevents him from falling asleep. The teenager rudely snaps at the old man to leave, but the father does not leave. He tries to talk to his son, while his friends wait patiently. In the morning, sleep-deprived and irritated, Louis goes to work, managing the store. The loafing son is having fun at this time. Having forgotten about school, he smokes with friends, listens to music, drinks, and caresses with a girl. Later, the father is informed that Fran dropped out of school long ago. And then they call from the hospital and ask to pick up their son. He got into a fight. The man has to go to the emergency room, where the parents of Migu, Fran's friend, are already waiting. They say that Fran is a bad influence on their child. After waiting for the end of the examination, Louis takes his son. He tries to talk to him on the way home, but in the underground garage, he breaks down and wants to leave. The man catches up with his son, but the teenager yells at him and slaps him in the face, after which he runs away. When Luis returns home in the evening, his son is no longer there. He went to the disco to party with friends, dance, drink, and snort illegal substances. Father alone lights candles on a birthday cake. My son turned 17 years old. Worried that he cannot find a common language with his child, Louis Googles ways to communicate with teenagers on the internet. He comes across an advertisement for the Simca program, a special psychological correction of aggressive behavior. Parents of difficult teenagers share their experiences, how difficult it was for them to communicate with their children before and how easy it became after. While watching the videos, Louis doesn't notice how time flies. And now at night the stoned Frank wanders, staggering along the corridor. The guy freezes at the slightly open door to his father's room, but he turns off the light to avoid another unpleasant conversation. The next day, Louis goes to the Simca presentation. The impressive coach gives a rousing speech about how discipline will help instill in spoiled kids real values and determination for a successful business. While he listens to the speech, his son is hanging on the phone, drinking alcohol. Instantly, at his mother's instigation, he disowns his friend, and the girl hints that they had nothing serious, so there is no point in making far-reaching plans. The upset friend continues to flood with grief. It is on this evening that his father finds him. At night, two specially trained people drag a half-naked teenager out of the bedroom. He fights back, kicks, screams, and calls for his father, but Louis has already prepared a suitcase with things and is escorting his son to the boarding school at the door. The guy is thrown into a minivan and driven along a picturesque serpentine road away from the city. There he is, met by Father Oscar, the main teacher. The man is unhappy that the new guy is barefoot and half-naked. Pupils must maintain discipline and arrive dressed. He also doesn't like the teenager being handcuffed. Oscar orders them to be taken off. Fran perceives this gesture as friendly and calls the guard names. But the teacher instantly restores the social hierarchy. He twists the impudent child's arm, pokes his face into the wall, and reads out the basic rules, among which respectful silence in the presence of elders is mandatory. The right to speak is a privilege. Fran is given a salmon haircut, given a uniform, and taken to the rest of the group. Children with bloody marks on their chins watch the daily video. They greet the new guy with a rehearsed chant. When Fran tries to talk to a neighbor, Father Oscar presses pause, and the kids jump up from their seats, reciting the rules about silence. Discouraged by such coherence, the hero looks around dejectedly, realizing that they will not make a fuss with him here. The further routine includes strictly regulated useful work for the benefit of society. Clothespin collection, as well as group lunches in the cafeteria. Fran takes a closer look at his new comrades, trying to memorize the text of the obligatory chants. They are shown videos on TV in which psychologists hammer theses into their heads about acceptable behavior. Among the teachers, Father Nando also stands out. Oscar reprimands him for his appearance and chewing gum, which he sets a bad example for the students. Teenagers also talk to a psychologist who asks them not only about their hidden fears, but also about their relationships with their parents. Fran admits that he misses his father, but he is saddened by the fact that Louis never really showed fatherly love, including to his mother, who left the family when he was little. The teaching staff of the boarding school, led by Oscar, discuss the coming day of freedom, a kind of holiday for students, designed to show what their life could be like outside the institution. Nando, being new, does not know what it is, and his colleagues make fun of him, to which he reacts with pathetic speech. Later, during lunch, Nando takes his anger out on one of the pupils and knocks him face first into the table, while the rest of the children hurriedly eat, pretending that nothing is happening. During the educational process, Nando gets carried away and pours pepper spray into the child's eyes. The director of the boarding school does not like this. Rich parents do not pay money so that their children are maimed. Oscar manages to hush up the matter, making do with a light reprimand to his subordinate, followed by a blow to his face on the table. Soon, Fran successfully learns the rules. However, he is not yet familiar with punishments, so one day after lights out, he sneaks out of the room. Unnoticed by the guards, he descends to the floor below, where he finds a sensory deprivation unit, complete or partial isolation from the outside world. Even simple conversations are prohibited here. In one of the rooms, the hero sees a teenager tied to a gurney. His eyes and ears were closed, leaving him alone with his thoughts. Fran takes off his mask and headphones, and the poor guy screams for a mercy kill. Frightened by this reaction, Fran runs back, but the guards notice the escape from the bedroom. The alarm is raised, and the hunt begins for him. The hero hides in the corner, and when the guard comes in, he rushes at him and beats him into a bloody pulp until backup pins him down. For this act, Father Oscar sentences the entire group to punishment. Children are placed face down on the floor with their chin on the floor. While they lie motionless, the guards occasionally turn on the lights and loud music. The situation is reminiscent of a Pokemon episode, causing epileptic seizures. After serving his sentence, Fran receives his bloody mark on his chin. At the same time, the children's parents gather for their own rehabilitation program, led by psychologist Helena. Louis says that he cannot find a common language with his son, to which the doctor replies that dialogue is the participation of two parties. Therefore, not only children must learn obedience, but also parents must participate in their lives. Helena cites Sandra and her parents as a successful example. The girl completed the program. Adults tell how their lives have changed since their daughter returned. But the story ends with the girl peeing herself and her mother taking her away. Returning home, Louis, as the psychologist advised, goes into his son's room. On his computer, he watches a music video in which his son is fooling around with his friends. Louis himself flashes among the frames. The son secretly took it off at work. The video makes the father smile, and the next morning, he goes to the boarding school to pick up his son. However, Oscar shows him a video of the beating of a security guard and convinces him that Fran is not yet ready to adapt to society. When watching the next video, the young man makes a joke that the teachers hear. The group is led to another punishment. Because they do not delve into the theses repeated over and over again, they will have to spend more than a day on their feet with their hands tied and their eyes blindfolded. Only the one who lasts the longest will pass the test. The rest will be sent to a sensory isolation ward. Those who squat are escorted out by guards. At the same time, parents undergo regular training on mutual understanding. Louis gets to know Sandra's parents better. They are worried about their daughter's mental health, but hope that the training will help. The next day, the remaining teenagers are fed, but the portions are one less than the captives. Unable to reach an agreement, the children fight, and the guards take all their food. Towards night, when the second day began, Helena comes to the cage. A woman films the boys to collect evidence of the cruelty and methods used in the boarding school. She is caught by Nando and taken to Oscar. But the manager does not see anything wrong with the data leak. All these methods are legal. On the third day, Fran is the last one left standing and returns to a measured life on schedule. Meanwhile, Louis establishes a warm relationship with Sandra's mother. They have lunch together. Their acquaintance develops into romantic interest. But while she's kissing Luis in the parking lot, her daughter is watching Helena's torture videos. Unable to withstand the rush of memories of her experience, the girl throws herself from the roof right in front of her father, who is immersed in his work.